Welcome back again, everybody, to Inside the World of Box Lacrosse, or ITWOBL, as we like to call it. Now it is your favorite portion of the show, I think. This is the Pick'em, where you get to see Stamper and I make fools of ourselves by picking the wrong team. It's always great to make these picks. You can see our records up in the top. I am not proud of mine. Stamper doing a little bit better than me right now. We both want to be picking better, and we've got 8 games on the docket this weekend, so we have a chance to really boost our records. A huge game to start off the weekend, some incredible Valentine's Day matchups, no love lost between all of these teams. So Stamper, let's go with what might be the game of the weekend in Buffalo versus Toronto. Who are
Yeah,
you picking?
yeah, and I'll tell you, I like to call this segment "Humiliate the Hosts,"
Yeah.
which of course is an homage to "Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf," the great Edward Albee play. They play "Embarrass the Guests," but so here's the thing: I have looked over the years. I've followed the teams coming off their buys have had some troubles. Last year, 25 and 26 for teams coming off a bye week. That includes if you include the first week as a bye if teams don't play until the second week, right? Buffalo last year was 0-3 coming off of buys, which I found kind of surprising, but they did have some early struggles, right? And teams did a lot of bye weeks early because because the schedule is a bit more back weighted. Do you know what Buffalo's record this year is coming off of bye weeks?
I do not know.
3-0.
Ooh.
Yeah, so I'm going to take the Buffalo Bandits because I'm not picking them to lose until they do, and there's no reason because of the bye week to not take them. I think Toronto is desperate. I think Toronto will play great, but I got to go with Buffalo.
Yeah, I think Toronto is, and they'll also be hungry. We talked about it in the recap about how important it is for them to bounce back, especially after a tough loss to San Diego. I'm just trying to bring up some numbers here because it is one of those weekends where Buffalo is playing a back-to-back. And so it's interesting that it's actually, we could be in store to see Buffalo lose one of the games this weekend. And I know I'm kind of diving into their second game as well, but of the 57,
got a long way to go, Adam.
of the 57 times they played 2 games, they won both games 18 times, split both games 31 times, and lost both 9 times. So a split could be in store here. And I think that split is more likely to happen on the back end for a loss. I'm going to agree with you on this one that Buffalo beats Toronto, although I imagine it's going to be another thriller that we aren't going to want to miss.
Yeah. Only 2 teams have played back-to-backs this year so far. Vancouver had the back-to-back last weekend, lost them both. Philadelphia had a back-to-back, and they lost the first one, then won the second. So, and actually, you go back to last year, and teams lost a lot of back-to-backs, where teams lost both of them, actually. It happened. Calgary, Colorado, Georgia, Panther City, Philadelphia, Saskatchewan all had weekends where they lost both games, which is not the way it's gone in the past. Usually teams have done quite well at least splitting in the games. So as we move on to Saskatchewan and Calgary, the bye week means nothing, as we've determined. Calgary's playing well. I would tend to go with them based on Saskatchewan coming off the bye, but hang on, Greg. I don't know. I think Saskatchewan. I gotta go with Saskatchewan. I just think they're a really solid club, and I think is Filiano going to play? Probably. I mean, Thomas Kaiser was pretty clear. He's the goalie when they get there, so I'll go with the Rush. But this could be another, the Battle of the Prairies, the Violin Bowl. It could be great.
Yeah, you know what? Just to be contrarian, I'm going to go with Calgary. Also, because we've been saying that Calgary isn't it for too long, and I think it's time where I'm going to ride with them until we realize that. And this is a key matchup, right? They're playing a really tough team in Saskatchewan. Like, if they can pull this off, then we really need to start taking them much more seriously.
You were going to ride or die with Saskatchewan, though.
I was, but
I'm not angry. I'm just disappointed.
No, I mean, me too, but I think that, fool me once, shame on me, fool me, or what is it? Fool me once, shame on you, fool me once, fool me twice, shame on me.
As George W. Bush said, fool me once, shame on you, fool me twice. Well, you're not going to fool me twice.
Yeah, well, he was surely right on that one,
Mhm.
right?
Oh yeah, yeah. He was a tough one.
Uh, but yeah, I am gonna switch it up and say Calgary just because, I'm gonna give them the benefit of the doubt that I haven't been giving them up to this point. But everything that I've said about Saskatchewan up to this point in the season still holds true. I think they are one of the top teams in this league,
So they're
and I,
both going to win, is what you're saying.
I that
Sorry,
would
I
be
just like to
great.
give you a hard
That would
time.
be great if Greg could put my name on both teams. I
Right.
would accept that.
So what about Vancouver and Vegas?
For me, I think it is going to be Vancouver. Vancouver really needs a win. Although it is going to be interesting, and we haven't mentioned it so far this show. Kind of a surprising roster move for Las Vegas yesterday in the
Right.
release of Jacob Rouet. I can see by your reaction right there that you've got some thoughts on that. I'm going to try and reach out to Coach Williams to understand because this was one of the longest tenured guys on the roster, obviously respected throughout the league. Surprising move.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny because the roster, the transactions come out every week, and Mike McClellan sends them out. He's awesome with the league. He sends them around, and generally you read them through, and you're like, okay, yeah, this guy's going to the IR, this guy's getting activated, or this guy comes back, so this guy goes to the practice squad. This one, no, like released and signed to the practice, just released. That's it. And that was there aren't many shockers on the transaction wire, and this was one. Jacob Rouet, who is yeah, he's such a good two-way player. They had him shift. He was a forward in the prime of his career, and then they had him shift to transition. And I thought he did a good job for them. But yeah, I don't know. I mean,
Yeah.
they obviously trying to move forward and change things up again.
Yeah, if only there were some top NLL reporters who could be on the case and figure out what
Let's
happened.
find out.
Let's find out. But yeah, it was interesting to see at least one of the players' reactions. Joel Watson, goaltender there in Las Vegas. He quote tweeted when I had posted that on X/Twitter, and he just simply responded as LOL. So that was his kind of instant hot take.
Also, a former Las Vegas Desert Dog, right?
Oh, yes, that's true.
So, um, yeah. So I not not that that means anything necessarily. Yeah, I think Vegas has done pretty well. I think they're playing some good games. I would love their logo if they didn't have the little cross sticks there. I think it'd be a really cool logo, but I get why you have the six. But I just don't see Vancouver losing again on this one. So I'm going to go with the Warriors as well.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting. I really have always thought as Joel, I totally forgot about those goalie moves that they've made, but
Yeah.
he's always been one of those guys. And also interesting to note, and we'll get to it towards the end there, but Vegas playing their first back-to-back in
Mhm.
franchise history.
Yeah. And Joel Watson is now the GM of the Whitby Warriors in the
Yep.
summer.
Yes,
So
he is.
that's cool. Philly and Halifax, the rematch, 2.0. So I mean, man, Halifax is playing well. I have to think the most likely, even whether it's a back to back or a home and home, the most likely scenario, as you mentioned, is the most common scenario is a split, right? Halifax took it to Philadelphia in the running game. They had 9 transition goals. There's no way they get 9 again, right? Philly's
No.
got to adjust to that. They got if Halifax had something very specific because they were they were getting guys down the floor so far down the floor, so far behind them. They were doing something
Yep.
where guys were just taking off, and Philly's not going to let that happen again. So
Yep.
I think the Wings will pull it out.
Interesting. I'm actually going Halifax with this one.
I
One
hate it because I haven't picked Halifax much, and I think they're really playing well, and now I'm picking against them. But sorry,
I'm
go ahead.
taking a page out of Preston's books because he has been loving Halifax all season long. He has actually noticed the thunderbolt within the little beard/chin area underneath the beak that he really likes. But I think 4 out of their last 5, they look so impressive.
It's true.
Uh, Playing in Halifax has been really great for them. The crowd is awesome there. I think that Philly, these are 2 teams headed in different directions at the moment, and I do feel bad for Nick Demude. I think that
Yeah.
I was a little. I feel like I've maybe been a little bit harsh on him and his performance, even though I haven't really been negative about it. But I feel like when you look at it, it's becoming a situation again that was very similar to Zach Higgins being there, where he's just facing so many shots.
Mhm.
The amount of saves that he's making up there in the tops of the league in saves per game. So it's not like he isn't doing that, poorly. It's more that, he's just facing a tremendous amount of shots in goal there. Anyway, I'm going Halifax.
We
Uh,
need to move on because Greg's putting our names up for the next game. I will say I'm waffling like crazy because I feel like Halifax, but last time I switched, it was when I picked Rochester, and you're all like, "Why would you take Rochester? They're not playing well," and they won by a mile. That might have actually been against Halifax. So I'm not going to switch. I'm going to stick with my first pick, and I'm probably going to regret it. But anyway, Ottawa and Albany. Rich Lisk, of course, used to be with with
yeah,
that club, and that's going to be a friendly rivalry. And that is a tough one. I. Albany's got to win some games, right? I'm going to go Albany.
Yep. I mean, it will be interesting. There's a lot of defensive challenges for Albany, the injuries they're going through. And maybe that's just what the doctor ordered in terms of the offense that has been missing for the Black Bears. However, I am going to go Albany because until the offense of the Black Bears really starts going, I'm going to say that Doug Jamieson is going to, step up and that the Albany Firewolves in front of their home fans are going to take that win.
Or Andrew Kidd gets his first win. I mean, you did a nice story about him. He's a good young goaltender, but no, it'll be Dougie Jamieson. Okay, you get to pick first for San Diego at Buffalo in the second half of the weekend for Buffalo.
Yeah, well, you know what? Just to stir up some controversy and piss the Buffalo fans off, and I'm gonna go San Diego with this one. I did just read off the data that shows that they often do split when they play two games in a weekend. So
Mhm.
it does show that and it's difficult, right? Like, I mean, obviously, when you're playing in Toronto and Buffalo, it's not like the travel is crazy. Although there is going to be some snow and some bad weather, is that going to impact a bus ride or whatever? But San Diego, I think, is really due for a big game, and this is their time to show that they are the team that they expected themselves to be, and that a lot of us thought that they would be. I think that they're going to catch Buffalo maybe a little flat-footed and steal a win there in Bandit Land.
The San Diego guys are going to show up in flip-flops and t-shirts and be just flabbergasted by the snow, and they are going to be beaten by the Buffalo Bandits because they were unprepared. I had a rowing friend who moved out to Victoria from
Yeah.
St. Catharines, came out in January to go to school at UVic and row with us, and he came out with basically shorts and shirts and stuff, and I was like, idiot. I know it's not winter, but it does get cold in Victoria.
What do you guys call yourselves? You being Canadians who travel to warm weather in the winter?
Snowbirds? Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So it's a lot of snowbirds on that San Diego club.
I'm kidding. Obviously, they're not actually based in San Diego. Yeah, the snowbird thing is slowing down. There's some hesitancy, I think, for Canadians to go to the U.S. right now. We won't get into that too much.
All of our that's where we call all the old people that retire out of New York State and go live in Florida because they go live there half the year, and then as soon as it warms up here, they come up for like 3 months and then go back.
Yeah. Just under half the year, right? Oh, I guess for you guys, it doesn't matter. In Canada, you have to spend at least one day more than half the year in Canada to retain everything.
Greg, were you talking about that floating abyss above New York City?
Yes, the floating abyss above New York City that doesn't start till just above Poughkeepsie if you take Josh's definition of it.
Yeah.
What about Schenectady? That's one of my favorite towns. Just the name.
You've obviously never been there.
I have not. I just like the name.
I'll leave it at that. But so the Nighthawks, I got to ask, Hartley's back now. He's playing again. Is that what they really needed? And also, I mean, did anybody? I think Hutchcraft played way better this season than I expected him to when he came up.
Yep, 100%. He was great. I've been, very high on Hutchcraft for a long time, and he proved himself. And I know it was a little bit of a startling shift to just throw Hartley into the net right away, not even giving Hutchcraft a chance. But as I've mentioned previously on this show, Hutchcraft was always going to be the big team guy. And when Hartley was ready, this is how it was going to go. Hartley definitely made the athletic saves that Hutchcraft admittedly knows that, that's not his forte. And so I think those were key saves for him. It's interesting, and I'm really contradicting myself a bit when I look at this matchup because I think that Saskatchewan is going to win this game. So on the second game of a back-to-back, I do think that they pull this one off. But again, just as with Buffalo and just as with Las Vegas, a significant weekend for a team that is really trying to establish themselves at the top of the list of the NLL best teams.
I'm going to say, because teams coming off buys, I think I mentioned that coming off buys this year are 17-10. They've actually done very well on the after the bye weeks, and teams doing doubleheader weekends still tending to split even more so than usual and having some losses. So I'm going to actually go with Rochester. There's more time for Hartley to get back into game shape and get ready to go, because he'll have the practice. And because he wasn't great last week, but we know he's a very good goalie. He just, it's tough the first one back. So I'll take the Nighthawks.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's going to be a great matchup. And then finally, we've got Las Vegas at Calgary. And actually, I didn't realize that Calgary also playing two games this weekend. You know what?
Do you think they just don't like the Calgary Wives? I mean, why would they do this on Valentine's Day weekend? Most of these guys have full-time jobs. They play this, and then they're like, hey, Valentine's Day, we're going to rip you away again.
Yeah, I mean,
that's exactly it.
This is what it means to be a professional athlete, right? So, you celebrate early. I know Nikki and I are celebrating tomorrow on the 13th instead of on Valentine's Day. And so, you make adjustments as you go. But yeah, so I guess when I look at it now, I'm picking Calgary to win both games this weekend and say to the league, hey, we're here. We're meant to be at the top of this list. So I guess that's how it unfolds.
Yeah, I've got Calgary because I'm not going to pick them to lose both. But that means I'm picking Vegas to lose both, which, I mean, you got to do one or the other, right? There's a bunch of teams playing doubleheaders this weekend. I'll take the Roughnecks because I do think they're playing very well. And you and Nikki celebrate a lot of things, right? So you get used to adjusting to things. I love it. I think it's great. But yeah, you do a lot of celebrations.
You gotta keep things exciting and fresh. Celebrating first dates, things like that. We still remember. Actually, that was back in January when we had our very first date 6 years ago. Kinds of celebrations. It's anytime you can make an excuse to celebrate is, I think, a good time.
Terry and I celebrate basically the Man Cup is our anniversary. we got back together. We dated before, and then we were apart for a while. But we got back together when I was out at the Man Cup in Victoria, and she was living there, and we spent the week together, and it was awesome. And we've been together ever since. And it's just the light of my life, and I am so excited to spend another Valentine's Day with her, even though I'm not a big Valentine's guy. But then we got married. So that was, that's September. Then we got married October 30th. So that's our other anniversary. Yeah, those are our two key ones. Plus, we have our dog, Millie, came to us on October 30th or 29th as well, the year before we got married. So that's her adoptiversary. So we kind of folded everything into the fall there.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, see, you make special exceptions.
Exactly.
Well, and for you, Stamper, that's kind of when your summer wraps up. You kind of celebrate the end, probably get to take a little bit of time off and enjoy her again, because, I mean, that you are everywhere on the road, just like us. I mean, we spend so much time traveling. It's like Adam in the winter as he's going for all these games. That's more of my summer thing. So kudos to the wives that can tolerate us being gone all the time.
Canadian box lacrosse folks tend to get married in October. That's just how it goes.
Yeah.
Seriously, ask a whole bunch of them when their anniversaries are, and you'll find probably 70% are October.
Yep, it's true. Who was it this past Blaze Reardon just got married. Although I have to say, who was it? Dane Smith and Josh Byrne got married over the summer. In between, though, the PLL season.
Yes, and they had to miss the Josh had to miss. Did they both miss the tryout for Team Canada? I think Josh Byrne did, because he was off already, getting ready to get married. Dane, I think, was at the tryout and then went and joined him, because obviously they're best buddies. They were in each other's wedding parties. But that was. But that again, those were booked before that tryout camp for Team Canada was made. So I think Josh Byrne was a pretty solid bet to make that team anyway.
Yep, I think that's a fair assessment.
Yeah, I talked to the coaches. He was.
So I think that's gonna do it.
Yeah, and we're almost in an hour. It's pretty close.
So
that's why I said almost, Greg.
Yeah, 2 minutes over an hour, but I do have to say I'm going to end this with a couple. Josh asks every week about the replays. How do you guys feel? Is it starting to slow the game down? Is it too many? I know we touched on it with the cross check there, the hi hats and the majors, and I agree. I really like that rule where they err on the side of call it a major. We can take it back to a minor. But some of these goals, I guess, is what he's talking about, where it seems like it takes forever. How do you feel it's affecting the pace of play?
It's not too many, but they're too long.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah,
more, especially when you say it's got to be conclusive. If you don't know within 2 minutes, then it's not conclusive.
Right, and then I think that is part of my one of my downs in my 3 up 3 down this week is that I think we're at a point where the NLL can spend a little bit more on trying to enhance the amount of video angles, the cameras that they're doing, so we can help the refs out. Like, this is not a fault of the refs. I mean, they can train as much as they can, but if they don't have the angles to review and it's not set up properly, that's just how it is.
I mean, you were looking at the Holden Katoni goal that got called off, that hit the crossbar and was pretty clearly in. But again, you don't have the dead overhead. But the other one I thought was the Resetarits goal at the other end. That was Michael Sauer's first assist, right? And the ball, Warren Hill catches it in his stick, but the stick's behind the line probably. I mean, again, you look at it and you think it's probably in, but it was a little hard to tell if it was in. So I don't know how you could really change it. And that was one where it wasn't a challenge. It was the two officials had a difference. So, and that's one thing people sometimes wonder, well, what if they have different calls? What is it? It's the head official. His call stands if they can't come up with something conclusive. The cross check thing, it's if it's straight to the head, that's a major for the most part. Like so you were saying, if it hits in the shoulder and rides up, that's generally going to be a minor. You can't make contact directly to the head. That's a big no.
Awesome. So that's basically our fan questions. Thanks, guys, for answering them. Thanks for all the channel members who are out there. We've had about 5 of them watching this whole show, so we appreciate every one of them. And thank you guys so much for taking the time. And hopefully we'll get some highlights. We were talking off air, try to get some college highlights for next week and kind of do some highlights for that segment next week. So appreciate everybody spending their time with us.
Thanks, gang.
Yeah, thank you, everybody, and happy Valentine's Day to all the viewers who are going to watch this, whether it's live or otherwise, and enjoy it with your family and your loved ones. It's going to be an exciting week of boxing. Can't wait for it.
Yeah, celebrate however you celebrate and just share the love with all the people in your world. Thanks, everyone. That will do it for Inside the World of Box Lacrosse this week for Blue Squash Productions on YouTube for Greg Beecher, Adam Levy. I'm Steven Stamp. Thanks so much for being with us, and we'll see you soon.
Thanks so much for watching. If you'd like to comment real-time live and have your comments appear on the screen and go to Steven Stamp and Adam Levy, consider joining our channel membership. To watch this full episode, click the title card.